Good afternoon, and welcome back to the Godcast number 8. This is the 8th episode, and thanks again to all those who continue to tune in. The numbers are starting to grow. It's been a really interesting process. It's a process I am very much enjoying. It's been added to all the other kind of things that are going on just now within my work. And this one, number 8, the number 8 is really significant to me. Way back, Dr. Wayne Dyer, who was one of my first real probably the man that introduced me to spirituality. And he used to talk about the number 18, which would be one power infinitely. That number 8, the figure 8, which is that infinity symbol. 18 has been my favourite number since I heard that, really, which is probably going back 20 plus years. First time I heard them talking about it. So number 8, I've been thinking since the last one about addiction, and it's really one at a time. I'm not really been getting too far ahead of myself. The plan is still to continue to get them out every week, every Friday. Sometimes or maybe more. The plan is to not go any less than that, so there always will be one a week. And just to see where I am, as with everything with this work, I'm just reporting where I am with my own journey and my own mission. And this one is called The Mission. Number 8 is The Mission. Perfect timing with everything that's going on just now. And I thought I'd explain a wee bit more about what it is I'm actually doing, the intention of what it is that I'm doing, and how it feeds into the kind of here and now, 2024, just about to get into June, and the work within the Vortex, myself and the team, and what the plan is over the next kind of probably 4 or 5 weeks in terms of what we're doing with this work, and the intention with the mission to take it to more people, and that starts with Scotland. There's going to be a Scottish tour, which I'm going to be talking about, which is going to be kicking off the first week in June. And just to explain a wee bit about what that is, and where we're planning on going, and the intention behind it, what the intention, which is everything, isn't it? The intention with this work, why am I doing it? What's my reason, what's my why? So the Vortex itself in my work has been a long, steady process. The first 17, 18 years, it was just really me working it out for myself, on a healing journey, which I continue to say I'm still on. I'm not there yet. I'm still really kind of working it out day by day. Some days are better than others. Some periods of time are better than others. And it's very much still a healing journey for myself, and whether you ever get to that place where you completely transcend, it'd be great to get back to, that divine innocence that we come in with as children. If you ever see it with children, which I see often, if I'm ever done it, my wife's got a children's nursery. If you ever see the children running about and how they're playing and how happy and joyful and just easy they are, that's the divinity that we carry inside of us, that divine innocence that a child has. Hard to think now at 52 that I too was once like that. I've been realising recently how serious I am. It's been kind of brought up a couple of times with my boy, who's one of my greatest teachers, and most of the time, almost all of the time, he's right. And it is serious stuff, this work that I'm doing is very serious to me. It's my life's work. And I'm very serious. I've been serious my whole life, thinking all the way back to when I started on my original mission, which was to become a footballer, and how serious I was about that, and the amount of time and effort and devotional discipline that I put into that, and then obviously the stuff that I've dealt with along the way, whether it was the vaccine damage or the traumas at different stages of my life, then I think it's obviously, it's tainted me and taken me away from that. I see videos of myself, I've watched, I don't see videos, don't sit and watch videos of myself, but I've saw videos of myself. My dad's got some old kind of cine recordings for back in the probably mid-70s it must have been, and I'm just bouncing about, just playing football, just fully life. Like an absolute, like a vortex, like a literal vortex, just non-stop, enthusiastic, just game for absolutely anything. And when I think to where I am just now and the stage and the age that I'm at, and looking back on my journey, and how serious it did become at some point along the way, and it's serious stuff. The mission itself is serious stuff. What I experienced on my own journey, what I learned, and really kind of what I went through with particularly and especially the spiritual stuff, with the meditation and the healings that have taken place, with the stuff, I suppose, that I've learned how to heal myself, with the aid of many great teachers. But the bit that I got to, and which I would call enlightenment, when you have the realisation of the divinity that's inside of you, that's enlightenment. Enlightenment doesn't mean you're sitting under a waterfall, with robes on and sandals and all that kind of stuff. It might do for some, it might do some of the gurus in India, when they're able to, sit in enlightenment, and be in that space and that place during their day-to-day life. That's certainly not the way that I experience it. I am absolutely a human being. I'm just going through this, working out of myself. I still suffer from mental health challenges, absolutely. I still get flat. I still get a wee bit down. Depression, I wouldn't say. I still, I come out of, certainly the places that I have experienced with the higher frequencies, the enlightened stuff that I have experienced in meditation and at certain periods in my life. That isn't really the way that I go through this life most of the time. I tap into it every single day through meditation. Again, the purpose of meditation is to reconnect back to the divinity that's inside of us, to tap into that field of consciousness. That's what I believe, that's what meditation is. It's to tap into the power of the divine. It's to remember and reconnect back to the divinity that's inside every single one of us. When I come back from that first enlightened experience, the realisation very quickly that it's in everybody. I just spent 17 or 18 years every single day, hundreds of thousands of hours, changed my diet, changed my input in terms of the people I was spending time with, in terms of watching television and going to doctors and medications and, even like prescription pills like antibiotics or non-prescription pills like painkillers, alcohol, all of that completely was taken out of my life. After 17, 18 years sitting every single day, hundreds of thousands of hours in meditation, sometimes 2-3 hours every morning, a lot of times it was night time as well, with a singular intention to become enlightened. And nobody knew about it. That's the fascinating thing for me. Nobody really knew what I was doing. I was just basically working out of myself. When I got it, when I had that first really, truly quantum experience, where everything changed, and I experienced it, when I came back from that, very quickly, the plan was, how can I then give this to people? Because when I realised it was inside me, then it must be inside everybody, So then the work that I was doing in the previous 17, 18 years, which was really learning some basic fundamentals, all the stuff that I talk about, most of it I learned in probably that first 17, 18 years in terms of the teachers, the books, the courses, studying, learning through the tape cassettes, which were great for me. I've never been a great reader. I've read 99% of the books that I've got, but the retaining information was always a challenge to me. Even school was a challenge to me. Retaining information at school was very difficult. I remember Tony Robbins said in 1998, the first time I heard this, that when you don't have a reason, when your brain does not have a reason for learning, then you won't retain it, you won't keep it in. And that was every single thing within school for me. And it wasn't really until I came across the spiritual literature that I really started to be fascinated. And at that point, personal development as well, learning how the body worked and how the mind worked and how, of the world, in terms of this intentional way of living, how that went together. That was probably the first thing since football that really kind of caught my attention. And, like the moth to the flame, the devotional journey that I went on, for those first 17, 18 years, where like no stone was unturned. The amount of teachers that I could name that I've met or worked with or learned from, a lot of the language that I use comes from them. And then, eventually, when I did eventually get that enlightened experience, which was always my plan, that quote from the Buddha, when you hear the word enlightenment, nothing else will ever do. That was my absolute plan right from the very beginning. Didn't know what it meant, but after reading the books and listening to people like Wayne Dyer and Castaneda and the different yogis that I've spoke about on here already, that devotional journey, to experience the divinity, that was my plan right from the very beginning. So when I did get it, when I came back from that life-changing quantum experience where it basically healed every single thing that was left undone, and allowed me to see the world in a completely different way, at that point, it then became very quickly, how can I pass this on to people? And at the time, this was probably just before the vortex was open. In fact, it was, because off the back of that, then, the new shift and the new intentions and the new momentum and the absolute mission, to then give this to people and take it to the world was born. The mission was absolutely born. And 2016, the vortex opened. For the first 22, 23 years of this work, I've been doing it that's my 27th year. So for the first 22, 23 years, Probably a bit more than that. It was always for free. I never ever charged any money for it. I was always just trying to give stuff away and help people. Wayne Dyer there was a question about how do you charge for spirituality. One of the sages one of the saints he would talk about used to talk about spirituality and how you can't really charge for it. And I really held that, dear to my heart. I was still working, blessed to be in a great environment, the family business, and working and earning decent money. I had no desire for money, but wains are expensive, food's expensive, holidays are expensive, and the money would get into the bank and you would use it for whatever. But there was no external need or greed to go and then try and achieve or attract or attain any more of that. It was very much about service and helping people, which is an interesting concept as well. For many years, like service at the detriment to myself, and I only learned a few years ago, that it's service through inspiration, through your own journey, and really wait until people show up. The best way to pass it on. That's what I had to learn. I learned that the hard way because it was making me sick. I would take their stuff on with the best of intentions, trying to help them, and in some way, help them, make their way through it. But it would leave almost like the Indian yogis would call it like a samskara, where it leaves an imprint in your soul. And that was absolutely the way for me. It was really affecting me negatively. And only a few years ago, it became service through inspiration. And right at the very beginning in 2016, where the inspiration came through to open the vortex, the plan was to help as many people as we could, as I could, and that was really difficult because the stuff that I'm talking about, even still, when you think about what it is I'm actually doing, it's spirituality. I'm a spiritual coach. I'm reconnecting people back to themselves, back into their hearts, back into their souls. I'm not selling any kind of get rich quick, products in terms of if you do this, it's going to attract abundance into your life, by selling certain products. Or I will never be sponsored by anybody. I'm not doing this for the money. The intention is to help people with it. So it's a really interesting, I suppose, a business and the model for this business. Because it needs to work financially as well, so we're still learning how that goes together in many different ways. That whole thing has been fascinating to me. And when the Vortex opened in 2016, up until probably when COVID happened, 2020, 2021, I wasn't charging money. So for the first 4 or 5 years, this place cost me just now probably best part of $2,000 a month, between putting the heating on, electricity, the ice machine, the wood for the logs, all the stuff that takes, the mortgage that's on it, that takes money. And the job that I was doing up until 2-3 years ago basically was paying for all of that. It was never as a money maker, and I was bringing people in and helping them either one-on-ones, and then I started doing the group classes, and also a lot of the kind of, you call it charity, although I hate charity. For me is the C word. I don't hate charity, but in terms of the money that goes into charity and normally the people that are involved in it, so few or so little that's taken actually makes its way to where it needs to be. So I've never ever been interested in the charitable side of things, but helping people for free has absolutely been a part of it. And right at the very beginning when the Vortex opened, I suppose it was like a really good kind of people at the time. Life coaching was coming out, and I remember one of the first people that came through the door, and he says, "What do you do?" And at the time, I was really very much about helping people manifest and fulfill their dreams. And the concept of being like a dream coach was something right at the very beginning. It sounds a wee bit kind of cheesy now and a wee bit cliched probably, but a dream coach, helping people fulfill their potential and achieve your dreams. And that's pretty much what I'm still doing. But right at the very beginning, the tools and the techniques, which were basic awareness, teaching people basic awareness, teaching people, there was no breath work. There was spiritual practices, but that was so difficult for so many because the way that the mind works, which I now understand because of my breathwork training, particularly with Patrick McFadyen, when the nervous system is active, when the mind is active, when the head is in chronic stress and overthinking, then it's nigh on impossible to experience any meditation. That was probably the case for me as well for the first 17-18 years because I was so switched on with the vaccines. It was a blessing and a curse because every single day between 3 and 4 in the morning, after probably between 2 and 4 hours sleep if I was lucky, I would be up, and I was just lucky that I had something to do during the night which turned into meditation. So the blessings were probably, the vaccines were probably a blessing because I didn't get a lot of sleep, and the minute I was awake, that was me. I was up and I was at it, and for all those years, that 17-18 years, every single day, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, just called out of bed, woken up, and then putting this energy and this, it wasn't effort, but it was a devotional practice that basically got me to a place where I experienced what I did, and it wasn't until much later on when I learned about the breath work and how to calm the mind and switch off the nervous system, which was probably about 5 years ago, that the kind of all the stuff started to kind of make sense, and the pieces of the jigsaw all came together. And right at the beginning, you know, when the vortex opened, it was basic, kind of really simple stuff. You know, trying to help people find their way with things like anxiety, things like depression. I believe that you can't coach anything that you've not been through yourself. I know a couple of people, a couple in particular that I used to go to for help, and one is a really well established, well thought of kind of life coach. And he would ask me about depression because he'd never been through depression, and I always used to wonder about how you're able to help, because most of his business, or a lot of his business certainly, was to do with depression, and it was like you're almost not qualified, you know, to teach about depression if you've not been through it. I hear that a lot just now with people that are going to therapy, and sitting with like clinical therapists that have went through university and got their degree, and they're sitting taking notes and asking about their story and asking about the challenges that they face. And there's these kind of, you know, it's almost like a tick box exercise, where people, you know, there's certain questions that they ask, and you may find relief, and some people do find relief. Most of the time that leads towards medication. Most of the time, you know, that leads towards some sort of prescription. Almost everybody that I see just now, the minute they go anywhere near that entire, you know, allopathic system, the modern medical healthcare system, then it's straight to medication. You know, so we're going right to, you know, you're not going to the source. You're going to the manifestation of, you know, how's it showing up, where's the end result symptoms, and then they medicate that, which, when you know what I know and how it goes together, you know, how that suppresses the feelings and the emotions, and in fact every single cell in the body and all that you are, then that's, you know, the way that whole thing goes together. For me, you know, without that training, the way I was trying to help people was teaching like basic awareness, I suppose. You know, just trying to help people any way that I could based on my own experiences to do with depression. At the time, I'd probably be advising people to, you know, exercise and, you know, tidy up their diet, the stuff that I was doing, just basic stuff. You know, what your input was, who you were spending time with, what you were thinking about. I was very much interested in law of attraction. Abraham Hicks came into my life a long time ago. I was very much into the law of attraction and manifestation in terms of, you know, how you create your own reality. Again, that's kind of the dream coach thing. You know, how do you get from here to there, and how do you do it easily without, you know, setting your goals and killing yourself. But a lot of that didn't really work. It was really challenging for me, and frustrating for me, and probably quite frustrating for the people that came as well, because I was helping them in probably certain ways. But it wasn't really until I had that really truly profound enlightened experience that everything changed. And then off the back of that, you know, the work within the vortex, the work that I was doing, that was kind of like almost like the final piece to the combination that allowed me to open up, and then it gave me access to the first 17, 18 years, everything that I picked up along the way, but then also, especially with the breath work, the ability to switch off the mind and to, you know, get the head quiet and get out your head, that old saying that the head's got the questions and the heart has the answers. The soul as well, I would say, has the answers. Like going inside, without the breath work, that would have been so difficult. That's why mindfulness doesn't really work. The breath and learning to breathe properly and switching off that nervous system, and how you can actually stop the thoughts, which is a great bit to be. I remember the massive penny drop moment I had when I learned how to stop my thoughts, sitting in meditation, just in this figure eight loop of thinking and answers and solutions with the best intentions, but it's so bloody tiring after such a long period of time. And then learning how to quiet my mind, which came through meditation, the ability to actually stop thinking, and how that changed everything. You know, that was at this kind of similar time to the breath work came in, initially through Wim Hof, at the same time as the cold exposure, so that would be the start of 2017. And they were the kind of, I would say, the final pieces to that stage, which enabled the next part to unfold, which made everything, you know, gain momentum over the last 5-6 years. To the point where I'm just now. And, you know, when I think back to the journey that I've been on and how long it's taken to get here, and then watching my students, the people that are running about the vortex work, and how frustrated they get because they've not got it yet, and they've been at it, some of them, you know, weeks, others have been at it years, you know, and even to me that is still, you know, you're just learning. I liken it a lot to like a proper black belt in martial arts, like a jiu-jitsu black belt. Not like some of these black belts are given away. I saw that day online when a kid had like a second dan in taekwondo or something, just like a child. And it always used to laughable, I suppose. When I did my karate, when I trained in karate, I was 9 years in training, and there was a couple of breaks in between that. But when I sat my black belt, it was like a year, and it was like 3-4 times a week training, to get to that point where you were absolutely, one I believe mature enough. But also the again, tens of thousands of hours of training that went in, and learning, how to get to that place of mastery when you get it for yourself. And then interestingly enough, when I got my black belt, the instructor, it was like, again, it was a man who introduced me to all this work, the man that literally gave me the olive branch and pulled me out the hole and gave me hope. They call it Yondan in Japanese traditional karate, and Yondan means just beginning. And it's not really until you actually start teaching that you really start to get it. It's like passing your driving test, and then you're actually on the roads, and if you think you'd actually then go and teach other people how to drive, that's kind of what it's like, so mastery takes a while, getting to that point of mastery of the self, which would be mastering your feelings, mastering your emotions, mastering the head, mastering the mind, the ability to get out of it, and then reconnecting back into the heart, and mastery on the internal arts, the quiet, soft, gentle arts like meditation, or even like say Qigong or Tai Chi, these soft, gentle arts that take us back on the inside, eyes closed, and that whole inner world, which is very, very different from what most people are going through on the external world. And by the time 2017, when I started training with Wim Hof, which was the entire year of 2017, and all that came together, again, at the time I was still, I suppose, searching, still looking. I probably had it for myself by that point, but probably lacked confidence in terms of who am I to take this to the world, who am I to share the stuff that I've learned. Probably didn't realise how profound it was, and it wasn't until I had the literal plane crash with Wim Hof, and then off the back of that as well, the Heal Scotland movement, and again the intention to stand beside people and share with them and help them up. After a couple of years of that, and realising that every single time I put myself in that situation that it didn't work, it got to the point where probably only over the last couple of years where I realised that I had to do it myself. And in fact, most of the stuff that I'm teaching and the stuff that I'm sharing and the process that I'm taking people through, there's nothing else like it on the planet. There really isn't. I don't believe there is. I'm talking about enlightenment a lot of the times in the first session. I saw it again a couple of days ago where the lad basically sat up and in his words, the light came back on inside him. So for whatever reason, this process that I've learned along my way, this process and the way that I take people through it, there's nothing else like it. There really isn't. There's nothing else like it on the planet, not that I'm aware of, in terms of how quick it can happen. And the mission absolutely now, after all these years, is to take it to the world and to help as many people as we can as quickly as possible. The world in 2024 is in the bones of its arse. There is no question about it. We are challenged in so many fronts, almost to the point of, and this is where I don't spend too much time looking at the circus and worrying about how bad it's going to go. But there's been so many predictions. There's one of the Indian gurus, the system that I was introduced to way back called Saj Marg. The second master of the system, Babaji, who was a great saint, an Indian saint, they believe was Patanjali in a previous life, who was a godfather of yoga, a really evolved, incredibly evolved spiritual being and master. And some of the predictions that he made, both during his lifetime, but more so after it, there was some channeling done. Again, you can either take that or leave it, because I know the system and aware of how powerful that being is, and his impact on my life for the last 25 years in terms of the spiritual side of things. The predictions were made about end of world times and the possibilities of world wars, and he predicted all the stuff we're facing just now in terms of the challenges with Wi-Fi and the environment and the industrial age and what man is actually doing to the world. So the hour is late, there's no question about it. The possibility of war, and in fact nuclear war, and how that could not just end us, but end, and I'm smiling, but what else can you do? Because there's nothing you're going to be there about it, and there's nothing you can do about it really if it does happen. But the possibility of what it would do to the planet and the impact on the planet, and what man, if it is man that's doing this to the planet in terms of how we're messing about with things, the environment. I am so sick of what's going on in the skies every morning. I see it every day, but it's doing it with my wife's plants, how it's killing the plants. I see it in my tub, my barrel, every single day when I go out, the orangey mist And I see it early in the morning time. I've so many times I've been out there during the night and doing my meditation and looking out, and it's crystal clear skies, and you see what's going on in the skies, and it's documented now as well, isn't it? What they're spraying into the skies, what's going into the environment, what man is doing to the world, and how bad, and how sick it's making us, and how bad the environment is. What's in the sky, what's in the water, what's in, the ground, the earth that the food has been grown in. Crazy to think that every single thing that in terms of how we reproduce, the cells in the body, every single thing we require, your food is literally, you are what you eat. I remember hearing that when I was a kid, you are what you eat, and that's just absolute literal. And neither wonder when you drive about, or you walk about, or you're in the supermarket now and you see people, it would break your heart when you see how sick people are, the amount of fat people, that are just, through ignorance. It's not their fault, it really isn't. It's the parents' fault, and again, it's the parents' ignorance. But again, by design, or just through lack of information or lack of knowledge, the inability to choose, the correct foods, and then the availability of that foods. You walk down to any supermarket. I've got a great relationship with the manager in Tesco's in Lanark. Twice a year they stop the organic celery, and they stop the organic apples and lemon and carrots, so you've got to go in and say, look, they've stopped it again, is there any way you can bring them back in? Because that's medicine, that is literally a medicine. It's food that's required, to get the body what it actually needs. Supplementation and the vital, the ingredients that we need, through the herbs that we eat and through the different minerals that are required to make the body vital. It's so difficult, and even if you did know, it's still very difficult to get them. First and foremost, even them being available, but also then the cost of them as well. There's a huge relationship between the people's ability, what they can buy and what's available, but then also if they could buy them, what they do with them. Again, that ignorance, the amount of people that don't know how to cook, or because of fast food or takeaways, or whether it's microwave dinners or whatever it is. I was in the supermarket this afternoon, and the amount of kids that are just pouring in and just watching what they're eating, and it's heartbreaking, the amount of kids that you see that are so obese and sick, in their teenage years. That's something that can bring me to tears when I see these wains walking up the street, and shame on the producers of these supermarkets. It's not the parents' fault, isn't it? And it's certainly not the children's fault. But we, that know, those who are awake and aware, there needs to be something done about it. So there's so many different areas where we're struggling. And this mission that I am on, and my team is on, the missionaries, as I'm calling them, God bless them, the people that are on about me, that are basically being attracted to this work with the intention to help as many people as we can. It's about bringing light and awareness to a world that's absolutely in darkness and in ignorance. Because it's the way that gets things back to the way that it's meant to be. The way is the way, that divine way, back into alignment with Mother Nature, back into alignment with our nature, what we require as human beings, as a species, and also back into alignment with the divine. That's what it's all about. That's the ultimate, and that's impossible if you don't have, that coherent, awake and aware relationship with yourself first and foremost, and each other, before you even get to the planet, and then the divine, which would be, some people would call God. So that's the mission that we're on. And this stage that I'm at with the vortex and the journey, I'm getting asked a lot and still very often what it is that I actually do. And really, to break it down in the simplest form, is to reset and reconnect back to who you really are, who we really are as a people, as a species. That's the bit that's been missing. I call it the separation game. From the minute we come into this world, we are separated. We are, some would say by design. I absolutely feel by design, whether it's the school system, whether it's the medications, whether it's the trauma, whether it's the breakup of families, whether it's the absolute literal shite that we eat, the poisons that we put in our body, what makes us sick, the environmental stresses and strains, before you add in, the pressures of, trying to survive and make it through this lifetime just now. The separation from the way that it's meant to be, and in fact how we are supposed to make our way through this life. That's what this mission is, to reconnect people back to that through awareness. Absolutely. Being aware and awake isn't enough. It needs to be the experience. And that's what this work is all about. It's about giving the direct experience. I can talk about this for days. I can give you all the evidence and talk about the books and the great teachers and my own experiences and the benefits that I see every single day. But it's a direct experience. That's the bit that changes it. That's the bit that really, takes it from me perceived to be somebody that's Arthur Nutt, and then when you actually get through it yourself. I watched it again on Saturday morning. When you bring somebody in, and it takes about 3 hours. It takes about 3 hours for the first session to take somebody through and explain where I'm coming from, how I got to this point, where I started, which is the exact same place as everybody else. I too was a clown in the circus. I was absolutely, the ego and striving and driving and trying to become a success and chasing money. And it was kind of win at all costs because of my athletic, I suppose, background with football and then, the martial arts and the different stuff that I did. And then eventually, after my near-death experience and almost losing my life, which seems to be the way for most of this stuff, how you actually get to the place where you realise that that's not really the way that it's meant to be, which more and more people are getting to just now. That's a really interesting point, but especially since the last couple of years, the amount of people that have been suffering and decimated, whether it's through losing people or their own health and well-being. Things like depressions and panic attacks and anxiety and fear and separation. There's so many people that are absolutely they basically get stopped during COVID and were given the opportunity to look round about and maybe smell the roses for the first time, which is fantastic. Again, I always feel at this time we're going through just now, this great awakening is done by divine intention. I believe the divine is behind it, even if the sneakery and the trickery of the perceived dark forces are what's making it happen. And who's to say that the divine isn't behind that and allowing us as a people to wake up and obviously before it's too late and be able to do something about it. So reset and reconnect, that's what I am all about. Reset and reconnect back to the way that it's meant to be, back to who you really are. And that needs to be the experience of it. That needs to be come in, go through the whole thing, learn what it is that I'm talking about. My story, it's a great story. It's darkness to light, my story. That's why, my book and the Godcast, it's all about darkness to light. That's my own story. I'm speaking from my own experience. But when people hear about the story and the way that it all goes together, there's so many different parts to it. I remember my wife came down to one of the workshops that I do, which is like an 8-9 hour workshop. It's a full day, one day to change your life. And she, at the end of it, even after her who'd been running about it our whole adult life, been together since I was 19 when we met, and now I'm 52, so she's been running about her whole adult life. And it wasn't until the end of that day that she really says, right, I get it, I really understand where it is you're coming from, where it is you're coming from now. I get it when you put it all together, and then all of a sudden when I'm talking about God and what God is to me and what it means to me, and I'm talking about consciousness and I'm talking about enlightenment, then when you actually go through the breath work and the relaxation and the meditation, which is the main bit, after we've done the cold exposure and switched off the body, when you reconnect back in through meditation and you reconnect back to those feelings, which I absolutely know are still available to every single one of us. We come in as a piece of the divine. That never dies. We carry it within our soul. And once the body dies, once this meat suit is done and dusted and we pass on to whatever's next, back into spirit, then the journey of the soul continues. So that to me is the real you. One of the questions that I ask people, I'm actually about to go down and I'm recording this on the Monday, this will be released on Friday, but I'm going down to England tomorrow to do an event. One of the questions I'll ask, is, do you know who you really are? And it's interesting, especially for successful people, because we think it's our stuff or our things or our bank account or our achievements or our legacy. And that's just the things that we do in this lifetime. Your job title, whether it's a parent or whether you're the CEO or whatever it is, the things that you do in this lifetime, that's just the stuff we need to do to navigate our way through this circus. But the question of, do you know who you really are? That's the the inside, the true self, the authentic self, the higher self that we carry inside every single one of us. That's what that question is relating to. And that experience is the bit that changes everything, that reconnection back, because it can't die. People get separated from their heart, absolutely. Can you get separated from your soul? Possibly. But all the while, I absolutely know through my own experience and the work that I've done with people that the essence of the divine that's inside of us it's always there, and through the process of meditation, through the process of switching off the head and reconnecting back into the heart, then we can get somewhere close to taking back that power, that divine perfection, that innocence of the child, that joyful, play-like state that we come in as. We can reconnect back to that, we can, and it might not be the way that it could have been. I was pretty sad earlier on today. I was dropping my boy off, he's away to work again, he's away down south for most of the summer, and I was listening to my daughter in the back of the car, and it just took me back. The last 22 years that I've been kids, and the amount of times I've been sitting in the back, I put my hand through and I'd basically hold my daughter's hand and I switch across to my boy's hand. He's 22, she's 20 now, she's about to leave next week. So it's going to be an empty nest for us for the first time in 22 years. But just reflecting on the journey and listening to them, like the fun that they have and giggling and just being silly, and that's the way that it's meant to be. And then here's me sitting in the front, like just dead serious, and again, because of my own journey, but so you're always learning. I'm always learning, and being joyful, as Abraham Hicks says, joy is the key, so to be joyful, to be happy, that's available, I do believe, to tap into those higher frequencies of how it's meant to be, I believe, as a human being. That's available to us all. We carry it inside of us, and through the process of meditation, on the back of breath work, sometimes cold exposure, that's not always, you don't need to do that. If you really need it, and you've got a big enough reason for doing it, then I would absolutely suggest that you do. Learn it properly, which should be like a spiritual practice. You don't need to be jumping about like a nutcase for 40 minutes, blowing your nut out with like DMT, power breathing, none of that kind of stuff. It takes a reason to sit in the cold. So if you have a requirement, whether it's heavy depression or PTSD or like chronic physical pain, then cold exposure could be your best pal. The thought of no using cold exposure, to me, is like, I don't know how I managed without it, because I never, I was always in a kind of chronic state of stress, and at the same time I wasn't breathing. I don't know how to breathe properly. Even with the Wim Hof method, that was dysfunctional breathing, generating more stress. So when you learn how to breathe properly through functional breath work, when you learn how cold exposure goes together, if you get reasons for doing that, then fantastic. But every single thing that I'm doing is to take you to those internal experiences and reconnection back to the divinity that's inside every single one of us. We are children of God. We are, I know it. We come in and we carry it inside of us, and the mission is to reconnect people back, to reset and reconnect back to the direct experience of the power that's inside every single one of us. That's what the mission's all about. So very exciting, and the mission kicks off, I suppose, for the first time on a national scale, which is really exciting. I've meant to be going away a few times in the past. I was supposed to go to France a couple of years ago, and Portugal, and because of COVID it kind of fell through. This was right at the start when I was doing my Wim Hof method training, and nobody else was doing it, so it was a kind of big thing. Now there's everybody and their granny teaches cold exposure, which is great for me, because the stuff that I do, the spiritual stuff, and the awareness and the program and the stuff that I'm teaching, it's a wee bit of it, but it's a tiny wee bit, so I'm absolutely blessed to have everything else that I offer, but the mission, the intention, not just through the different steps and the different stages, because again, people are asking, what is it that I do, how do you get around about it, and there's different ways you can do it, and I suppose that the way into the vortex, the way into this work, entry level would be, depending on where you are, depending on your location, it can be online. It's much better to go through it in person, whether it's coming in as a one-on-one, which I can do online, but I prefer not to. I prefer to have people coming in here and meeting them. It takes about 3 hours, the first one-on-one. That would be the starter for 10 to come in and basically hear my story, understand how it all goes together, and then go through the experience, go through the whole experience. And if you can't get it here, then if you can't make it to the vortex and go through that first experience, which would be, it's normally breath work. A lot of the times it's breath work and cold exposure. Sometimes it's breath work, cold exposure, obviously relaxation and meditation. That happens no matter how you come on about it, and then it can be sometimes heat exposure as well. See a real a kind of snapshot of how what's capable and what you're capable of feeling and experiencing in your life, how you're able to feel, and then explain how the impact and the benefit to every single area of your life. So you can come in as a one-on-one to the vortex. Would be the starter for 10. Once the reset and reconnect takes place, then the journey begins. Once you learn the language and once you go through the experience, then the journey's really on. And depending on how far you want to take it, then that's really up to you, and everybody's different. For some people it might just be the case of coming, when they leave they've got an entire breathwork system. I normally share the Oxygen Advantage Elite Athletes Manual, which is basically based on the Buteyko method, which is functional breathing, and then also the simulation of altitude training, which Patrick McFadyen put together, to attract males into doing breathwork. Really, that's what he said. That was his words. So I really share the Oxygen Advantage system, which I'm trained in. The Oxygen Advantage, I'm an advanced instructor. I pass on functional breathwork, but for me, I don't really teach that to athletes as such. It's more about how we reuse that breath, that functional breath, which I suppose comes from the Buteyko method, and how we use that as a bridge to get back on the inside. And the first initial reset and reconnect, once that takes place, and it doesn't need to be cold exposure, it does not need to be part of it. I don't even really talk about that much now in terms of when anybody asks, unless they ask specifically, because so many people are doing it now. A lot of people are doing it wrong, as far as I can see, in terms of how they do it and how they use it and the time they spend in the ice, and how their practice goes together. Very forceful and not sustainable over a long period of time, I don't think. And it should be repeatable. It should be easy. It should be something that calls you back because of how you feel when you come out the other side of that cold. As I say all the time, it doesn't matter how you go in, it's how you come out. And I see people leaving here with capes on, literal capes on, and it's a repeatable, soft, gentle practice is the way that I teach it. So the one-on-ones would then feed into, if that's not available to you, and this is if you're local to me, and I mean like Central Belt. I've had people come from all over the country, all over Scotland, some international as well. Some people have came and stayed with me over the last couple of years, which is brilliant. But the one-on-ones, if that's not the case, or in fact if it's too expensive, if you don't have the funds or the availability to do that, then a Friday night in would be great as well, which is very similar. That's the same breathwork, relaxation, meditation, cold exposure, and finish off with the sauna. So you leave with an entire system of how to manage your nervous system, how to feel better, the power of awareness. A wee bit we kind of talk about, taking responsibility, taking back your power. That ability to respond. Friday night ins are fantastic. They're on a couple of nights a month. It used to be every Friday, but again, almost every gym has got an ice bath in them now. And the amount of people that now go that are trained, and then they, by myself, or they've picked up their cold exposure practice somewhere else, and they go to a gym and they get their fix, whether it's in the rivers or in the ice bath. So the Friday nights are much quieter now. That's something that I may well kind of step it back even to one night a month. And if it's not a Friday night, that's certainly a more cost-effective way to get around about this work. And then I suppose if you go through either the reset and reconnect, the one-on-one, or the Friday night in, then if you're interested in continuing this work and making it the intentional life, then the 1 day to change your life is a great day. That's a fantastic workshop. That's probably my favourite just now in terms of what people get from it. It's an 8 or 9 hour workshop. We go through the entire story in terms of how I got to where I got to just now in my work, and how it's helping people, and then how it benefits every single area or spoke to your wheel of your life, as I call it, the wheel of your life, all the different things you do in your life, how we make that better very, very quickly. The 1 day to change your life is a fantastic day. It's a fantastic workshop. They're on monthly. I have them done at Newland, like I tell just now. The plan is to now, over the next wee while, again depending on how much demand there is for them, is to take that and expand that. It's a fantastic day. That the whole thing, you don't just get the experience of learning how the breath goes together, learning how the relaxation works and feeling relaxation, and also the meditation as well. But also then it's like how I get put together. I talk about, I call them the 3 pillars, which is really everything that I teach. I teach awareness. I teach the power of awareness in terms of what you're doing to yourself and what you're allowing others to do to you, and then it's all about the power of intention. Once you see that, the ability to do something different about it and to make it better. So awareness, intention, and then the 3rd pillar is the power of alignment, which is to be in alignment, to be in that flow of all that you are, in alignment with the divine. That's the 3 pillars. And the entire system, which leads into that 1 day to change your life, how it goes together. We use cold exposure always in the river. We go up to a beautiful stretch just outside Biggar, and we reconnect back into Mother Earth, another form of reconnection. And off the back of that, when you've really got a taste of how it goes, the whole thing, like how it, I suppose the structure to it, then it's the programmes off the backside of that. And the programmes really for people that are deadly serious about committing to this way of living, and then getting to the point where they start to fulfil your potential. That's what it's all about for me. How do you get to that place where you fulfil your potential? That's the programme. The programme is an online community. which is, it's £1 a day, which is as cheap as I could make it. And the thinking behind that is, like, especially in Scotland, like, people are miserable, and I tried to give it away for free. I really did. I've so many people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I say I've had 10,000 people on the ice. There's probably been 8,000 of those that have been in for free, you know, that are basically between the workshops, or whether they've came here in the beginning, and I basically help people for free. And it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. It doesn't work for them, and it doesn't work for me, you know, because there's no exchange. There needs to be an exchange. Again, that service is a detriment to yourself. It doesn't work, you know, and people don't value it. You know, I think that the value, in fact, I know the value in this work. I see what it does to people inside 3 hours, and you couldn't put a price on it. I think back to when I did my Wim Hof method training, and one of the head instructors, old Casper van der Milden, he was talking about how it was €5,000 for an ice bath one-on-one with him, and he didn't want to do them, you know, at the time. And I remember watching him and going, oh my God, you know, like $5,000, and you just the arrogance, you know, and in terms of the ignorance as well, and in terms of, like, who do you think you are? The whole thing about this is a tool for helping people, and here's me at the time. I was doing everything for free, and nobody was coming, and here's him absolutely mobbed. And again, it's that value, that perceived value of what you invest in yourself, and the value of it, you know, and you think because something's coming really cheap, then it's not worth it, you know. And the programme at £1 a day, the thinking was, if you're spending £1 a day in yourself, then you'll get up and you'll do your work. You'll get off your arse and you'll do the work. That was the thinking. And for me, you know, the drip and tap to fill the barrel, the plan is to get 10, 15, 20,000 people at £1 a day, so we can then take this mission to the world. It's going to take money, you know, that's just the way the world works, and it is absolutely my intention to attract abundance. I teach abundance, and it's something that's been sorely lacking in my life. I've never really required it because of one thing and another. It's always came through when I've needed it, but now is to get the money, which is just credits, isn't it? It's not even paper anymore. It's basically digits in your bank, but it's so we can then go and take it to the world and help as many people as we can. And that's what the programme is all about. There's videos on there. There's probably 20, 30 hours of videos. There's live recordings every Sunday evening, the Sunday service, and then the Wednesday morning, Rise and Shine, which are all recorded. And you get access to them, you know, so you can tap into, and everyone's different, you can tap into them. They're all themed differently, and they come through differently every single time. The music's always different as well, and the experiences are different, so depending whether you need to upregulate your stress, if you're up for a wee, you need a wee bit of fight that day in you, or whether it's deep relaxation, or whether it's the ability to get to sleep, you know, whether it's the, you know, how to be in that flow state, how to switch on your nervous system and turn it off at the same time, the samurai state as I call it. There's so many videos that have been added to weekly, you know, with everything that's recorded is basically added onto the programme, which is also, you know, the intention behind it was an online community, but also, you know, the personal relationships. We've got the Telegram group. I think we're up to 90 people now in the programme. And it's just people that have came through, you know, whether it's, you know, one of the free events, or whether it's came to the Vortex, or did a one-on-one with me, or whether it's been to one of the kind of the one day to change your life. When people leave, it's like, right, okay, what's next? To get shot out of a cannon, and they're feeling the best they've felt in their life almost every single time. And at that point, it's like, where do we go from here? And for years and years and years, I would think, right, go and do the work yourself the way I did it. And that doesn't work. You know, I know that doesn't work. I now know that it doesn't work. I didn't know for a long time. I always thought people just go away and do what I did, but it doesn't seem to work that way. So the programme is all about offering that support network, and an intentional community where so many people are rising and reconnecting back to the light at the same time, and making sense of it. You know, with a live open mic last night where I was talking about meditation, and the challenges that people face in terms of like having an overactive mind and inability to switch off the head, you know, and then also like the environment that you're in, the toxicity of what's run about you when you're absolutely flying, and how you maintain your flow state, all that kind of stuff, you know. So that group is growing every single day. That's probably the bit I'm most excited about just now, because that's people that are working on themselves. They're taking responsibility, they're investing in themselves at £1 a day. Every single penny from the programme gets put back into the expansion of this work and this mission. And those people that are committed every single day, and I see them every single day. I see them on the Telegram chat every single day, and the questions and the stuff that I get offered in terms of how can I help them. That's something that's really exciting, and that's something that's going to fund this entire next phase of the mission. Now, for those that can't get here, and those that maybe just want to dip their toe in, There's a couple of ways you can do that. I just released last 2 weeks ago, it was, there'll be another one this week, this Friday, called The Experience. As I mentioned on here before, I need to give people the experience. It's all right talking about it, but talk is so cheap. We need to experience it. So the first live experience was a couple of weeks ago, and some of the feedback, with people coming in and learn how to breathe properly, and then like a proper meditation practice. Again, so few people understand what meditation is. Most people think it's to quiet the mind. And that isn't the case. Meditation is to reconnect with God, and the plan is to become enlightened. That's absolutely it for anybody that sits in front of me or lies down in front of me or comes in and sees me. It's enlightenment, the realization of the divinity that's inside every single one of us. So the experience is going to be every couple of weeks. The next one is on this Friday. It's going to be on. That's live on Zoom. There's no catch. There's no hidden agendas, or it's basically my intention to gift this to the world. I love giving away stuff for free, especially the spirituality stuff. I love that. That's what it's all about for me. Service to many and helping as many people as we can. Wayne Dyer many years ago said that service to many leads to greatness. And when you hear that, you think, oh, what I'm going to get from it because of how I'm helping people. But it isn't that. It's the feelings that you get. I learned that, again, probably 10, 15 years ago, maybe 10 years into my journey, the realisation of just by helping other people, especially ones that can't give you anything back. And that's what the experience is all about giving people this gift of breathwork and meditation and reconnecting them back to how they're meant to feel, how they're able to feel, the ability to sleep properly, switch off their head. That's what happens in the experience, and that's going to be every couple of weeks online. And off the back of that, talking about the free stuff, which the Scottish tour is going to be absolutely all about. There's going to be 4 dates. I was being a wee bit ambitious. Always with me, when I get excited about stuff, it's like, right, okay, let's go. It's like it's every Saturday and Sunday for the next 6 or 8 weeks. We're going to go to all these different towns. When the dust settled a wee bit, when I kind of calmed down, and when the team we sat me down and it's right, okay, like here's the logistics and this is what it's going to cost. Which again we're spinning plates because we're not chasing money with this, we're not selling anything really, but we're trying to fund it organically as we go by helping people. So it's going to be, the initial tour is going to be 4 dates. We're looking at Dundee, we're looking at Aberdeen, we're looking at doing the West Coast, somewhere in Ayrshire, and then it's going to be Glasgow to finish off. We just did Edinburgh a few weeks ago, the Breathe and Believe up at Edinburgh, and the Scottish tour is going to be kicking off on the 9th of June. That's going to be in the first location is going to be Dundee, and that's going to be released within the next week. I've been speaking about it for a couple of weeks. Now we've actually got the logistics together, but we're doing it. It's in the diary. I've got a 1 day to change your life on the 2nd of June, so that's why it's not the first weekend in June, which is also my anniversary. It's my 24th year anniversary, which I didn't know about. I forgot about. I'm terrible with dates. I forgot. God forgive me, and my wife please forgive me. But the 9th of June is going to be the kick-off of the kind of mini Scottish tour. There's going to be 4 dates. It's called Reset and Reconnect. So the intention with it is to go into these towns and a free event, come in, go through the experience, hear my story, hear what I'm talking about, hear what it is that I'm actually doing, but then, that's not what it's all about. It's the experience, and then what you can get for yourself, how you can get it for yourself, what can you take away with it, how can you reconnect and remember that absolute divine power that's inside you, the way that I discovered it. And it happens in one session, and it's a free session, so it's going to be great, and it's available to anybody. I would say, I get asked a lot about kids. There will be a programme further down the road for kids, but I suppose 15, 16 years old, in these events, my intention is to get it up and get it out. So anything that's in there, anything that's stored, all the traumas and the heartbreak and the hardship and the decimation that we go through as human beings, when you go through this process, it's not a case of just coming in, I'm going to take you down and put you through some breath work. That's not what it's about. The intention is to heal. So for healing to take place, we need to get rid of the stuff that's holding us back. So that's why it's like 15, 16-year-old, around about that age, you can decide in terms of the maturity of the Wayne that's coming, the child that's coming. Anything younger than that, then they're probably not going to get it. Anybody that is younger than that, there are other ways to help, and that's absolutely part of my plan, is to help the amount of kids that are struggling just now. If I hear one more time about anxiety and depression and self-harming and all the stuff, especially over the last couple of years, since COVID and what the kids have went through, they absolutely need help, as does every demographic. But for this Reset and Reconnect, this mini tour, then probably around about that age. So we're starting off in Dundee, up to Aberdeen, down the west coast, Ayrshire way, and then we're going to finish off with Loch Lomond in Glasgow. And that's going to be every Sunday in June. The dates will be going up within the next week, and the locations as well. And that's available to anybody who would like to get in about this work. Anybody who has heard about the Vortex or heard about me or through somebody else's experience, which is kind of the way that it's grown. It's always been organic, which is the best way, word of mouth, I do believe. People talking about it as a kind of sales force, because you can't deny it. The experience you can't deny. There's nothing like it. There's nothing that I know of that happens as quickly as it does to everybody. It's universal. It doesn't matter what you're coming in with. It doesn't matter if you're anxious or you're depressed or you're suffering, right up to you're absolutely flying and you think it can't get any better. Every single thing for every single person is going to get better. If you're dealing with panic attacks, you can't sleep, you're dealing with overwhelming, through the horrors of this world or your life experience, then get prepared, because everything's going to get better. And that's my intention with this. This mission is to reset and reconnect people back to themselves and back to the way that it's meant to be. And we're doing it day to day. We're doing it through the Godcast. This is still going to be every week. The online stuff, the online programs, the experience every couple of weeks. Now we're adding in the Scottish tour. Maybe a wee bit reluctant to say it because there's only 4 dates. Initially it was like 8 or 12, but now it's only going to be 4 dates for many, many reasons. But there's so many different ways that we're basically trying to help and give people the opportunity to find relief and really shift from the darkness of the ego and the suffering and the pains of this world, and make their way back towards the light, back to the way that it's meant to be, back towards the divine. It's inside every single one of us, and it's available to anybody. And when you learn and go through, this way of living, this experience that happens in the first time, and you reconnect back in and actually feel what meditation is, all of a sudden, we're kind of debunking the old, the stigma that's attached to it, or it's no for us as Scottish people, it's for everybody. I've done so many events in the past, especially the corporate events, where there's people from all over the world. And it's amazing at the end of it, almost every single time, somebody will come up, and they're normally Asian or Indian, and it's very much, God, understand, thank you so much, we get it. And then the Scottish people are like walking about as like out their nut, and unconditional love and reconnection and just feeling bliss for possibly the first time in life, stress completely switched off, out their heads and in their hearts, feeling joyful, feeling happy for no reason other than, they've reconnected back to themselves. So at a time we're soul searching, people are searching for their souls. People don't know who they are. We don't know who we are. If I was to ask you who are you, you don't know who you are. You're lost. People are lost. So this intention with this mission, with this work, is to reset and reconnect back to that which is real, that which is divine, that which never ever changes, and it's inside every single one of us. So that is the mission, and that is what the plan is, that I'm just going to keep going. There's nothing going to stop it. This will be me for the rest of my days, and I am absolutely, the intention to teach it to the people that run about me, because I've maybe got another 20 years if I'm lucky, because of my life. I maybe get 15, I maybe get 10. But so my intention as one of the elders of the tribe is to pass it on to as many people as possible, pass it on to the children, pass it on to those who are interested to get on about it, because this is the way, and the way is the way, but this is the way I do believe that gets us back on an even keel. As a starter for 10, we need to stabilise, and then eventually we can get it back to the way it's meant to be, back into alignment and coherence with the planet, growing our own food, living off the land, the need for supermarkets and utility companies and mortgage companies, that's just done by design. That's done to keep us in fear and keep us in work and keep us in stress, and thinking about all the things that we think we need. That never-ending figure eight loop, that desire to keep going and get what's next. That's just done by design. They basically, they've tricked us, and this is all about like de-hypnosis, reconnection back to the way that it's meant to be as a human being. I do believe we're supposed to be happy, we're supposed to be joyful, we're supposed to have fun, we're supposed to be easy and sleep properly and enjoy this life experience. And without the divine, without that reconnection back to the divine, doesn't matter what you've got, doesn't matter how successful, successful, that's the way that I see it. Chasing money, chasing the stuff, chasing the things, no matter what it is. You think the money's going to get you the stuff? Let me tell you, it isn't. It isn't. I see it every day. It doesn't work. You can never get enough. And you just need to look at the world and see the people that are chasing it. The question is, how are they doing? And know that well. They might have the stuff, they might have the watches and the toys and the cars and the planes and whatever it is. And once you've got that, are they really fulfilled? Are they really joyful? Are they really happy? I don't see it. I really don't see it. So you need to look at the evidence and see how it's working out. So success for me is having everything. It's having everything, the abundance and the toys and the stuff of this third dimension, this world, absolutely. Why not? But it's all the other stuff, it's the connection with yourself and the connection with each other, your loved ones, being happy, being joyful, sleeping properly, having your home. I remember Zig Ziglar saying that money will buy you a house, but it can't buy you a home. It'll buy you a bed, but not a good night's sleep. And the Beatles as well, money can't buy you love. Absolutely. The amount of people that have got all the money in the world and are absolutely separated and miserable, and that's a shame, and that's something that we need to fix. So true success is having everything, being happy, being joyful, waking up in a good mood, ready for the day, ready for the world, going through your day, expanding intentionally, fulfilling your potential, becoming everything that's available to you. So that when you get to the end, you can look back, and smile and know that you got it. I believe we come in with a divine mission inside of us, and knowing that you actually got everything that was available to you. The thought of getting to the end of your life and realising that you never actually got it, that place that so many people get to where they've missed their life experience because of ignorance, because they've basically been chasing some illusion or some dream. That's something that absolutely needs to be avoided. So that's the mission, that's the plan, to reset and reconnect. We're here to play, I'm here to help any way that I can. This is my work, but it's coming through me, it isn't mine. And all the teachers that I've been blessed with, the way that I've put it together, the shortcuts and the bridges that I offer, it happens very quickly. It happens in one session. And through all of the above that I just mentioned, whether it's coming here or online with experience, or the one day to change your life, or the Friday night in, or the Scottish tour, the Reset and Reconnect tour, then please, if you feel called to it, contact us, get around about it, and then the plan is to go and fix this world as quick as we can, because it needs it. The world is in the bones of its arse, and so many people are trapped in darkness. We don't have a lot of time, I do believe. The time is now, to take back our power and get back to the way that it's meant to be. Love and light, onwards and upwards, for the greatest good always. I send my best to you and yours. Have a fantastic day wherever you are. Peace out, and bye for now. God bless.